You cannot prepare for marriage if you are not connected to the God who invented marriage. We had a conversation one day and I said, I love you. I really do. However, if God tells me that you are not the one, we're going to break up. I'd rather cry now while we're dating than cry in marriage.
In marriage,
And
when we have a lot more to lose.
We both agreed and we began to pray. Preparation in marriage is very important.
That's what
It's very important.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. It's another day, another week for the Love, Marriage and Family podcast right here with Mo and Pindi. Thank you so much for joining us. And hey, thank you so much for the subscription. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the love, really. And we do this every week for you. And we hope that, you are getting something out of it. Well, you say you're getting something out of it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. Thank you so much for the subscriptions and keep them coming. And of course, I'm not alone. I'm with this lady.
Your lady.
This lady. My lady.
Of course. Guys, thank you so much. It's exciting to be back this week with another exciting episode. And this week, we are sitting with none other than. Okay, this week we're sitting with another incredible couple.
Yeah.
The couple that we really connected with some time ago. And we're excited to be sitting with them today on the podcast because with us, we don't just connect with people in J.
Just in J.
We don't have the time, If we connect with you, it's because you've got a story and we believe that you're going to impact people and you're going to empower, people that we engage with. And we are too excited to be sitting with them. We are sitting with Pastor Pascal and his beautiful wife, Lady Annah.
Yeah.
Welcome to Love, Family and Marriage podcast.
Wow,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
We
so much.
are just as excited
Yeah.
to be here and more excited about the connection
Of course.
Yeah.
that we made recently. So
Yeah.
we're grateful to God for that.
Yeah.
So this for us is also a special moment.
A special
Thank you for inviting us. Thank you
Not
so
a
much for
problem.
having us
Yes,
on this
Not a
platform.
problem.
yes.
After 19 years, you guys look like you've been married 2 years ago.
Really? Is it that?
More like siblings.
Yeah.
Well, we get that a lot.
We do, and we like it.
Yeah.
We like it, when people say we look like siblings, and sometimes when we want to be naughty, we're like, we're siblings.
Yeah. At the grocery store, it's like, are you guys brothers and sisters? And he would jump on it. Oh,
yeah.
this is my sister.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Which is not a lie.
In the
she
Lord.
is my sister in the Lord,
In the Lord.
Yes, of
but the
course.
sister with benefits.
But you do know what happened to that story of Isaac, right?
We're not going to get there. We're not going to get
When
there.
he said his wife is,
this is my
he
sister.
Yeah, I should stop. Just know there's a king somewhere.
You know what I mean?
You know?
You better be
Sondela.
careful.
Okay, I'll stop.
But we want you guys to take us back in your journey because 20 years married, definitely, there's a journey there. I always say, once you've been married for 10 years, you've got a story to tell. 10 years in marriage, you already you have stories for days, So being 20 years in married, I want you guys to take us a little bit back,
Okay.
because you guys are obviously not born in the same country. There's those differences which obviously are connecting points for you. But where did it begin for you? I mean, a lady from Val. Where do you meet this handsome-looking pastor?
Who looks like you?
You see how God works.
You know what I
How
mean?
God does his things. Well,
Yeah. Are you going to tell the story?
yes.
Okay.
I'm going to give the
The
real
true vision.
The actual version.
The actual version. I believe that ladies always tell the real story.
Okay.
So this was, we met at university.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
At UJ. So we're just there on campus, just one afternoon. I'm minding my own business.
Were you?
Yes, I was minding my own business after class. I'm thinking, can I just get home? And then I remember I see this car, late afternoon, I see this car and there's guys there pumping music. And I'm thinking, oh my word, I have to go past there. And I start praying. I'm saying, Lord, please save me from this situation. Can I just step out of this campus? Can I walk through, and walk
through
past?
the valley.
Yes.
Can I see myself on the other side?
Without anyone saying anything.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, let's walk. I start walking, and as I'm about to get out of the gate, I'm like, yes, I made it. I hear, excuse me, hey. I'm like, oh, there it goes.
I thought I've
I
walked.
turned, and then it was him. So I'm like, so we used to see him on campus with my friends. We'd be sitting at the cafeteria, and he walks in, and they had a little nickname for him, Mr. Slash.
Mr. Slash.
At the time,
You're going to have to explain that.
I don't know if you remember that ad. There was an ad with the guy who walks in at the bar, and the ladies are like, Mr. Slash.
I remember
Looking
that.
also good. You remember that? So I'm sitting with my friends, like, there's Mr. Slash, there's Mr. Slash. So he walks in the cafeteria, and everybody's looking. And at the time, they called him Asha. So he was quite popular on campus.
With the ladies.
Yes, Asha. Oh, Asha.
I was an
Asha.
evangelist on campus.
So we used to see him, and I'm like, oh, okay. So when I turned, I'm like, oh, Mr. Slash is the one that stopped me.
Yeah.
So let's hear this conversation. So it's like, hey, hey girl, I've been looking at you, and I just know that, God just spoke to me that you cannot live without this woman.
For real.
Whoa.
So I
Already?
was like,
Whoa.
this is my moment,
For the sake of peace, whatever she says is
I
right.
have to, you just that woman that I cannot let. So I was like, okay, can I have your number? So I was raised well.
Yeah.
Right? Not to be rude.
Oh, you
Yeah.
give your number.
Slash, give him your
you
number.
must not be rude. That's how I was raised. Be
Obedient.
polite with people. So when he asked me for my numbers, I'm like, yeah, remember what mommy taught you? I'm like, yeah, you can have my number, And then I gave him my number.
Baby, your
and I
birthday's
went-
coming up, right? I'm just saying.
Okay, backtrack. So I thought, wow, this handsome man.
Yes.
Maybe let's
You were
Getting
see.
his attention.
better change our story.
So then I get home, and then he calls me later on. So I'm like, oh, okay.
He didn't waste time.
No, that night. I mean, he did say that,
I'm a man of my word.
Yeah.
So he called me. I'm like, oh, okay. He called. Hi. We just started chatting.
Yeah.
And we really connected from that moment.
Yeah.
And I remember he asked me, he tricked me. Actually, he was testing me. So one day he says, no, I want to take you out on a date. Let's go have drinks.
Yeah.
And he was with his friend. And I'm like, my daddy warned me about guys from Joburg. So I need to be really careful. So I'm like, I'm bringing a friend. I'm not coming alone.
Of course.
So he says, yeah, and by the way, we're catching a taxi because I don't drive.
Slash.
So now in my head, I'm thinking,
What was
great.
Slash doing in that car?
Which, it was friends, when there's a lot of guys and they're just chilling. So he says, I don't have a car, so we're going to catch a
So
taxi.
you picked
we're
the
going to
wrong guy
Komba.
without the car.
No, but in my head, I'm thinking, great, I'm safe.
Yes.
Nobody's going to be locking doors
No,
because
no,
my
no,
daddy
no.
was like,
Neutral.
you're going to Joburg, my daughter, watch out.
Yeah.
Especially the colored ones, watch out.
Yeah.
So I was like, great, we're catching a taxi, so we're safe. Then as we're about to walk out, he's like, nah, I'm just kidding. I've got a ride. I just wanted to see what,
Your reaction.
But then now I'm like, oh my gosh, now we're
Locking
taking
doors.
a car. Now I'm not safe. But, we really clicked from there on. And then I think April, we made it official because we met first year. I was in first year. It wasn't his first year because he had studied somewhere before.
Yeah.
And then he came to UJ. Now he was starting another course there.
Yeah.
But it was my first year, like fresh.
Yeah.
February, yeah?
So we
February.
opened
February.
Feb. Second week of Feb, we met.
2 weeks later, we
Guys,
made it. I
then-
made it official.
Yeah, in
guys.
April.
And
then-
a chance to
he was like-
first quarter to finish.
I'm telling
first
you.
semester or something.
That was probably the best thing that happened to me and to her.
Yeah.
Because, she was a first year. And there were eyes on her. I had heard that there's a first year, she's tall and she's this and that. I'm looking at these guys, I'm like, well, I'm going for her. By the grace of God, no one else tried anything. Well, maybe they tried, but no one else succeeded.
They didn't.
Yeah.
They
And
were
also, I
not.
think it was good for me too that we didn't get a chance to meet anybody else
Yeah.
before that. So she came. She was fresh stock, and
Did you say stock?
Okay, guys, you know that I have a second-year daughter at university, right? I've got a first year this year. And now, what are you trying to say? Because for me, those girls...
I'll keep on praying, baby. Forget it. It's not gonna work.
I know the universities are crazy, so I was just glad that I met her before anyone met her, and we clicked. When I saw her, I loved what I saw.
Yeah.
Beautiful woman, and the more we spoke, I'm like, hey, she's not like everybody else.
Yeah.
Generally a beautiful woman, they always have stories and they're gold diggers. My friends told me she's a gold digger.
Well, they thought, they're like, no,
She
stay
must be a
away.
gold digger.
She must be a gold digger.
And I was waiting for her to say, buy me airtime.
Yes, do this for me.
Do this for
I
me.
can't come with you on a
I can't-
taxi.
And she just wasn't that. She never asked me for money. Never.
Yeah.
Or to buy her anything, whatever. Never. I later found out that she was sometimes going through difficult times. That way she would need, but she would never ask. And I would be like, why don't you ask? And she was
She was
just
raised well, she did say.
well,
Yes.
evidently, yeah. So she was raised well, and that made me fall in love with her even more.
Yeah.
I would ask her on a weekend, what are you doing? I'm home. I'm like, okay. On a Friday, I'm home. Saturday, I'm home. She's always home. She will never. So I just loved that when we started getting to know each other, I fell in love with the personality and the person she was. And more than anything, that's what attracted me to her. She was humble, down to earth. She wasn't on some hate. No, my way on the highway.
Do you know who I am?
Do you know who I am? Never. Very humble, very loving, very sacrificing. I would go to her and she'd cook me a meal. I'm like, hey. And she could cook. I'm like, I know.
What is this?
Needs to meet mom.
She's a
This one
keeper.
Mind you, I was in a relationship that was not doing so well when I met her.
Yeah.
And I went to her and I said, listen, I'm going to be honest. I am in a relationship. It's not doing well, just so you know. Guess what she told me? I was expecting her to say, come here.
Yeah.
She says to me, go work it out. And she gave me tips. Do this, do that, work it out with her and just fix things. And she gave me advice. I'm like,
How did the fixing go?
Clearly didn't go well. She gave you all the wrong advice.
She gave me advice on how to go fix it. And I went,
I actually think it was wrong advice.
That was
And
the
for
end
me,
of that relationship.
it was the end.
What advice did you give him?
I told him to
Like
go
all the wrong things.
No, all the... Like, I guess everything I was
block
saying.
her.
Block her, yeah. First of all, block her.
No. And for me, it was like, she's not telling me, break it up. I'm here for you. No. She's like, go fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah, this is it. I know that, And then I went and I told my dad, and I'm like, listen, I met this woman. She's amazing.
Yeah.
And of course, my dad is like, listen, as long as she's born again,
Yeah.
believes in God, hey, but he said, let's pray about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's pray. And that's where we started, and we prayed, and
I think for me giving that advice to him, I wanted to be sure that if it's me, it's really me.
Yeah.
And that decision came from him. And not because I was like, hey, take me. And all that.
leave
I
the
would know
other
that
one.
him coming, he ended up on his own. And I had no, influence on the decision that he was going to make. And that if he had totally closed that chapter, then I would be ready to begin a new one with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that process then, I mean, you're a PK, right?
yeah.
With that process of introducing somebody, obviously, first of all, it had to be somebody that you are serious with.
Absolutely.
At what point do you know that, okay, I'm serious with this girl?
I mean,
So-
you're a second year at uni.
So I think for me, I knew that I was serious.
Yeah.
I knew. I was not one to, play around too much or whatever.
Yeah.
I knew that this is the one.
Yeah.
Although we getting to know each other, which I want us to get to know each other.
Yeah.
But I want to bring her home so that I can get another opinion.
Yeah.
This is advice that we usually give younger people and say, don't only meet just the two of you.
Yeah.
Try to involve family. Because there are certain things when you are blinded by love. I say love. You think it's
love
love.
can blind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You don't see the red flags.
Yeah.
So when you bring her over for a braai or bring him over for a game night or whatever, your brother could call you and say, listen, while we were playing, I noticed 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
All the things that you wouldn't notice. Your mom could be like, when we went to the kitchen and we were all doing the dishes, I picked out 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
She didn't want to do
She
the
didn't
dishes.
want to do that.
Would that be a bad thing?
Well, it could mess up her
If
nails.
everyone
She was
is,
tired, maybe.
if everyone is doing the dishes and she's the only one,
only one.
And
then
then
there's a problem.
out, like, okay, no, you're not doing it right. Okay, go play,
You know.
guys.
And the supervisor.
So if I have to bring her home, who do I bring her home as?
Yeah.
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 So when I was sure, not 100% sure, but when I knew that this is going somewhere,
Yeah.
I had to tell my dad. I'm pretty close with my dad.
Yeah.
My older brother, we're very close to him. My mom as well, So I started introducing her to the family as, hey, listen, this is a potential
met
somebody.
someone.
Yeah.
But one thing I told her is don't come to church yet.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't please. We are PKs and we have, PK
Attention.
They'll
Yeah.
say,
The
this one
eyes.
is bringing there. So I said,
eyes.
don't come to church. And guess what she said?
What?
I'm coming.
Can't Annah
I'm
then-
coming.
No,
And that
because
Sunday, she's like, I'm coming to church. I'm like, hey, man.
Mara,
And
look,
Why do you want to hide me?
I wasn't hiding her.
There's still a lady in the choir that's got unfinished business.
well, I needed to go see what's happening there.
You know,
who I'm
you know.
competing with there at the church.
She comes to church, and as she comes, I don't know how people knew, because we're trying to we're going to come, but don't sit next to me.
Yeah.
But we're
Yeah,
hiding,
sit right there at the
there.
back.
Sit on the other side.
She came
Ladies
for
have
you.
the eye, they're like, mm-mm.
Yeah.
Something
There's
is happening.
something's
Maybe
going on
they-
here.
This looks like a brother and a sister.
When there's a divine connection,
You know?
you know that.
Come on.
But I think for me, it was also going back to the home that I was coming from. So the one thing that my mom told me was, and my parents, they told me, go to Joburg. Coming from the Vaal, Joburg is like this, city where things happen.
Yeah.
And, you meet the wrong people. It can either make or break you. So I was coming from that family where my father was like very overprotective, and they said to me, first thing when you get there, hide yourself in a church.
Find a church.
Look for a church.
Find
Find
a
a good
church.
church.
You
Always
will be
good advice
safe
then.
in the church. Find a church and stay there.
Yeah.
So for me, when I got to know actually the other side that people did not know, on campus, he's Mr. Slash, he's
Yeah.
Asha. So I got to see the other side that people didn't know. People thought, oh no, good looking, he's
So
a
Mr.
player.
Slash is actually
He's a player, you're not gonna last, you're not the only one. But and then I saw the other world, and I'm like, wow, this is what I'm
I
looking
actually like
for.
this world.
This guy
Yes,
prays
I
in
like
tongues.
this.
Wow.
You
Mr.
know.
Slash, when you get to church, rabba.
Yeah.
So now when he says, no, I go to church, and I said, I want to go and see more of that.
Yeah.
I want to see that part of you and be a part of that. And coming from home with that advice, find a church. And I'm like, I want to go to church.
So you were told to find a church when you left home,
Yeah.
and all this time you couldn't find a church until Slashy came along.
Well,
And then boom! You remember
know
the
what?
advice
There's
from
a
home.
church.
Mom advised me.
you know what? You know what, Mr.
see?
What people didn't know.
They got you.
No, what people didn't know is Mr. Slash had, so he was an eagle. I have an eagle. So I literally just landed
Okay.
Yeah.
in Joburg.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, of
we
course,
met
because
Yeah,
the
like,
beginning, it was a
it was the
festival.
beginning.
so
Yeah,
I
fresh
didn't
air.
really have
Yeah.
time to ask, where's the church?
Yes,
Where
yes,
can I
that
go?
makes sense.
So,
So-
timing was perfect.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
Perfect timing.
And I'm so grateful for that timing.
Yeah.
And I always thank God for that timing. Because I said, God, I believe that it was you looking out for me.
Yeah.
I always say, God, I'm grateful that you sent this man at the time that you did.
Oh, wow.
Maybe he saved me from, things. I could have met the wrong person.
That's true.
That could have broken me, that could have destroyed my life, my destiny. But, I believe that God sent him at that time for a purpose. And I'm forever grateful because me meeting him at that time, my life changed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Completely.
amazing.
My life changed. So
Same here. When she joined the church, I told her, don't come to church.
Yes.
Because what I had experienced before is every girl that I would like and learned that I was into church suddenly also loved church.
Oh, so you weren't sure whether people were sincere
Exactly.
in their...
Yes.
When I say, listen, on a Sunday morning you'll find me at church. During the weeks I'm at church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I sing in the praise and worship.
Yeah.
Suddenly they were like, yeah, me too. I love church.
Yeah.
And they would join the church to show me that, hey, I'm also. So I didn't want that with her. I said,
get
don't
you,
come to church. Go to another church. Don't come to my church. But she pushed, when she got there, she started serving
Yeah.
without me telling her to serve. She started serving and she loved it genuinely.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, Lord, is this a dream or what?
What is happening?
What is going on? And I love that.
Yeah.
Obviously, for me, the way we grew up, you know, the first thing that you need to do, and I knew that if you're going to marry someone who has a relationship with God,
Oh, yeah.
their own relationship.
Yes.
As much as we can influence each other, but let her have a relationship with God. And she had one, and she was strengthening this relationship without me forcing her into it.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I never had to call her and say, let's go to church, let's do this, there's a fast, there's whatever. She was always there. And I fell in love with that yet again, that spiritually, this was someone who was also spiritually inclined with God. And that is one thing that we talk about in our, so we run marriage seminars. And that started over a decade ago. And it started when we identified a need with young people in our church that would go in a relationship, break up, come out, cry, and come to us for advice. And we said, you know what, there's a need here.
Yeah.
So we started hosting these conferences talking about preparation.
Yeah.
It was, so our ministry is called Before and After I Do.
Oh,
Yeah.
And we were focusing on the before,
Yeah.
Yeah.
preparation.
Yeah.
And we were talking mainly on our experience.
Yeah.
What did we do wrong that we learned from? And what did we do right that worked for us then and is working for us now?
Yeah.
And the part of the preparation that we began to talk about over a decade ago was, and we would say to the young people that would come and say, I can't find the right person. I'm looking for the right. And it was like a light bulb moment that the Lord gave us. And he said, teach them on preparing themselves first.
Yeah.
And one question we would say, we usually say it is, before you find the right one, make sure that you are the right one.
Good.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
And then they're like, okay, how do we do that? Then we start talking about preparation. And the
Yeah.
first thing that we talk about is spiritual preparation.
Yeah.
You cannot prepare for marriage if you are not connected to the God who invented marriage.
Yes.
And that is spiritual preparation. We talk about knowing God, getting closer to Him.
Yeah.
And we tell people that if you want to know yourself, know God.
Start by
Yeah.
knowing God
Find
first.
God and you will
Creator.
find you.
Yeah.
Because He knows you better than anyone else. So when we were dating and I was praying, and I prayed, we had a conversation one day and I said, I love you. I really do. However, if God tells me that you are not the one, we're going to break up. I'd rather cry now while we're dating than cry in marriage.
In marriage,
And we
when we
both
have a
ag-
lot
we-
more to lose.
We both agreed and we began to pray. She later told me that, you know, when you said you pray, I was praying. I was fasting and sleeping on the floor. And I'm like, seriously? I'm like, I was praying for you. Whenever you weren't with me, I was praying for you and nothing, and no one sees you when you go out. I'm like, oh, okay.
May they all be blinded.
That's a good prayer. It's a lovely
That's a
prayer.
good prayer
Yeah.
point. I think, coming to the spiritual preparation, that's exactly how it happened for me. Yes, I knew God. I was coming from a Christian home. But when I got into His church, it's almost as if God said, you came through Him, but I wanted you here so that I can have that relationship with you. So I discovered God at that church. Like, I got to know Him more than I ever knew or even thought, I could.
Yeah.
And I actually invested myself in knowing Him. I obviously had, interest for us to pursue things and obviously get married. But it's as if God was saying, I also want to work with you. I want you to know me on a deeper level. So it was exciting for me, genuinely exciting for me to come to church because I was learning so much about God.
Yeah.
And those teachings I never got home. back
Anywhere
home.
else,
Yeah.
So it was something so exciting and new, and I got to now started fasting, and he wouldn't believe me. And I got to the point with God where I started now focusing on us and praying about us
Yeah.
even before
Yeah.
he popped the question. I mean, our preparation season went on for 5 years.
Yeah.
So
Sure,
we
yeah.
dated 5 years before he popped the question. So in that 5 years, there was so much growth and there was so much working on me
Yeah.
and my relationship with him.
Yeah.
And I would say, God, is he for me? And then I always tell him that I actually got to a point where I felt that, okay, it's him.
Yeah.
I would joke with him. I said to God, if he wasn't meant for me and he was meant for someone else, please let's just swap. So he must become mine. And then whoever was supposed to be with me, give him to whoever was supposed to be with him.
Okay.
What a prayer.
What a prayer.
Tell me more about that. Why the swapping?
No, I think I got to the point where everything ticked for me.
You like what you saw.
We always say during preparation, you need to be specific with God. People are saying, I want to get married. But you need to go to God with specifics.
Yeah.
You know, have
What
that
exactly
list
what you're looking for.
present it to God and say,
Yeah.
God, I want a God-fearing man. I want him. There's nothing wrong with, being specific with God.
yeah.
But our prayers are just so,
Vague.
I just
Vague
want a
and
man.
platonic.
God, I want to get married, But
Yeah.
so going through that list, there are certain signs. We talk about signs
Yeah.
during
Oh, yeah.
preparation. When you are seeking God in your preparation time, God will reveal.
Oh, yeah.
There are certain signs that you will start to see that will show you that, red flag,
This is
stay
not,
away. That one is for you. And one of those signs was me getting to the church. Automatically, the warmth I received, the acceptance that I got from the parents, for me was a sign.
Oh, wow.
My family.
From the family.
family.
For the
It was a
entire
prayer
family.
as well that she didn't
Yes.
know.
Yes.
I said, if she's the one of the signs is my family must accept her without me having to force anybody.
Yeah.
Convince them.
Or
Or
convince
to
anybody.
motivate as
Yes.
to why.
Or motivate.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as I was praying and I started seeing those signs, and it became more evident that, okay, you know what? I think also God was in this. But that prayer, it was more of a joke than.
Yeah.
And
But
it's so funny, babe,
Yeah.
that when you ask God for signs, God speaks.
Yes.
Yes.
Of course. Yeah.
God really speaks.
Yeah.
I remember one day she now ended up being so when my brother got married, my older brother, she ended up being a
Bridesmaid.
bridesmaid.
She could not have been a flower girl.
No. Yeah.
A bridesmaid.
And my grandmother, who did not know her,
Yeah.
she didn't know who she was, sees her and says, "Who's that girl?" She's telling my mom, said, "Who's that girl?" And says, "That girl would be so nice for Pascal." Not knowing that there was
Not
Things
even,
going on.
not even
Oh,
that
wow.
girl would be so nice. She was so specific. She said, "That is your wife.
yeah.
That is your wife. That is Pascal's wife."
This is so interesting. I'm reminded of a story in the Bible, the story of Adam and Eve. When God created Adam, he created Adam and it gave him everything, the job, the purpose, the word, and all of that.
Yeah.
But then when he created Eve, the Bible says he put Adam to sleep.
Of course.
So that he could actually spend time with the girl.
Yeah. No interruptions.
No
from the
interruptions.
guy.
Wants to spend time with the girl. And then when he wakes up on a finished product.
Yes.
That has a relationship with God,
Yeah.
that knows the voice of God,
Yeah,
that
right.
knows that, because
You are spot on.
Yeah.
Even though we were together,
Yes.
I believe that God had put me to sleep in a way.
Yes.
Because
Absolutely.
she found me, or I found her, she came to church through me, but then developed a relationship with God
Yeah.
On her own.
on her own.
Yes. Yes.
And the changes that I saw in her, well, I didn't know her before, so I can't say really that she was this and she changed. But God, it's almost like God presented me a finished product.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with you
Yeah.
that is what happened.
Yeah.
And so we use that to say that preparation in marriage is very important.
that's what
Yeah.
It's very important. I remember while we were dating, there are certain issues that I was battling with. And one of them, I speak openly in our marriage conferences that I had anger issues. And you know what? When she came in, she helped me to get over those things.
Oh, wow.
Yo.
Anger issues, when I mean like on the road, like road rage.
Yeah.
You know, I would be like, nah, you don't take,
Oh,
you
Lord.
can't just cut in front of me. You can't just, show me the finger.
I'm
You
still
can't just-
battling there.
Yeah, we
Pindy
pray.
is
We
side-eyeing
pray.
me.
We pray.
After this,
But you
I will
get
lay,
worse,
I will
fast.
lay hands on you.
Carry on fasting and praying.
So there are certain things that I had that clearly my parents didn't really, it didn't work in my family.
Yeah.
No one was able to help me
Yeah.
Yeah.
with. When she came along, she made me understand that you've got a problem.
Yeah.
And I acknowledge that I've got a problem.
Yeah.
Now, there we're talking about another kind of preparation,
Yes.
and that is mental preparation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You cannot get married if you have not dealt with your mindset.
Yeah.
And I suppose your past even.
Yes.
Because I want us to get into those anger issues. In your view, how did that come about? Because I don't think it's how you were born in that way.
I don't think so, but it's certain things that a lot of us, struggled with in our family. My brothers as well. My dad as well. Had some of those symptoms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely maybe modeled from somewhere, but
Yeah.
it wasn't. It was something that I was, But obviously, to me, it was normal.
Yeah.
Because logically, if you do something wrong to me, I need to react.
That this is how I react.
This is how I react. And I would tell her, but you saw it was wrong.
Yes.
I would stop at an entire taxi.
Yes.
And taxi drivers, no one messes with
Yay.
them. I would be like, no, I will mess with you. And I was much smaller. I was very skinny, but I would
Yeah.
stop an entire taxi. And people like, and then
Yeah.
He's
this one-
brave.
I would
And
stop
put
my
your
car.
life at
At
risk.
risk.
I would
Yeah,
stop
exactly.
my car and then go to him and say, why did you do that?
Yeah.
And I would justify my outburst. I would stop an entire bus. One day the bus driver did something, a Patco bus.
I would-
I
a
stopped
bus
him.
as well.
I'm telling you,
And
I
even
stopped the
went
bus.
in the
I
bus.
went in the bus. Everybody's sitting and looking at me, and I went to the driver, and he's huge. I'm
You
this
know the
skinny
bus
guy, and he's
drivers,
huge.
yeah.
They're like, why did you? But then later on, I'm like, wait, I've got a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if this guy is also is 10 times worse than me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Takes out a knife or a gun,
I mean,
and I would.
we hear of these stories.
You know
every
what I
day.
mean? So I started looking at myself through her eyes.
Yeah.
All right. So now you are ministering to me because those are Pindy's words every time. What if this person
That's
has
what
a
I always
gun
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they could pull out a gun on
Yeah.
you, and I'm here, sometimes with the kids, something happens and all of that. Now, all right.
So
Also, yeah,
Take that in. Yeah.
we need to also be aware. I think the first step is saying, I have a problem.
Yeah.
A lot of times people
Definitely.
don't want to
we're in denial.
acknowledge
You
the
justify
fact.
your wrongdoing.
Yeah, so it starts with you acknowledging.
Yeah.
And when we go back to scripture, the fruits of the Holy Spirit is self-control.
Oh,
One of them is
yes.
self-control,
Of course.
which we need to be conscious of every day and exercise.
And patience.
And
I mean,
patience. And also not thinking about yourself only. You've got a family. You've got kids that need you.
Yeah.
One decision that you take for yourself
Can
because
affect
I'm
everyone,
angry because they did this to me can now leave a child fatherless.
Without a father.
A wife without a husband. And it happens in a split second. We live in a country where there are crazy people.
Yeah.
We hear of
Very.
these road rage stories where somebody just pulled out a gunshot and that was
That's
it.
it.
Yeah.
And that is somebody's father, somebody's brother. So I
But
think
when you are
at
in
that
that,
moment,
you don't. In that moment, you
you
don't
don't
think,
think
about
about
that.
that.
Yeah.
It's a spirit.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's a spirit, whether you like it or not. It's
Yes.
spirit.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
if you're married, rest assured, it's going to affect your marriage whether you like it or not.
It will.
You
It
will
will.
have those outbursts in marriage too.
Snaps.
Yes.
So you'll say,
Yes.
but you'll justify your wrong.
Yeah.
I slapped you because you made me upset. So
Yeah.
it's right what I did to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Not
you.
me.
You made
Yeah.
me do
Yeah.
it. You're
Yeah.
justifying the wrong. So
Yeah.
I had to deal with it. Thank God, we never got to that point where I would
Be physical
be
or
physical
anything,
with
no.
her.
Yeah.
But if I had not fixed it, it would have gotten to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you have not listened to her, because I like what you're sharing, because sometimes, and in most of the time, I always believe that God connects you with your partner for a reason, because there's an area that he wants to work in you, but he uses another person, for that to happen.
Yes.
And in your case, the anger or anger issues, God had to use your spouse to
A
say,
helper.
we're gonna work at this.
Yes.
Exactly.
But what is important is to acknowledge that actually
Amen.
I
There's an
need his
issue.
help.
Yes, yes. And then I think also that is now the importance of preparation now coming on my
Yeah.
side. I believe that that time of preparation that I had with God, I believe that in your time of preparation, God equips you for what's to come.
That's good.
God knows what you're going to be dealing with
Yeah.
in that marriage. And when you allow enough preparation time and you allow yourself to have that relationship, the closer you get to Him, there are certain things, or you'll be equipped for your husband or your wife.
Providence.
I don't think that I could have been able to help him through that process if I myself
We're
did not
Ooh,
have
yeah.
that equipping from God. If I did not have that relationship with God, I would have not known what to do with him.
Yeah.
What to do with that anger. I would have probably done or said the wrong things to him. And
Or even get
it would
angry
have-
yourself,
Exactly. And then it just becomes something else out of control. But going into that marriage and being with him, I believe in some way I was equipped. It took patience from my side as well.
Yeah.
It took a lot of prayer. If I was not a prayerful woman,
Yeah.
which I was already prepared for in that time where I got to know God on another level, I would have not been able to pray for him.
Absolutely.
You see, so that is the importance of preparation, which we should not skip.
Yeah.
The mistake that people do is to run to the altar,
Yeah.
but you're not equipped for it.
You're not ready for the altar.
You're not ready for the altar, and people run to it only for them to want to get out, to run back, because you never allowed that preparation time to happen.
Yeah.
But you're so quick to prepare for the wedding day, for the dress, the venue, bridesmaids, a long queue of bridesmaids and groomsmen,
Yeah.
the steps on that day. But you fail to do the most important preparation, because marriage starts after the wedding day,
Yep.
Of
not
course.
on the wedding day.
What else besides the spiritual preparation? What are the three perhaps things that people need to prepare for before they get married?
Sure. I think I would touch more on the mental preparation, maybe. Mental preparation, where it's a mind shift. Like my husband said, the mindset.
Yeah.
You need to change your mindset, because now you're getting into somebody's world. It's something new. So there has to be a lot of adjustment from your side. And we always say that when you before you get married, you need to prepare yourself for leaving the I behind. The I falling away, and everything becomes we. You are now accountable to somebody else. That is a shift. You can't say, I want to do this. I want to buy a house. I want to buy. It changes to we.
Yeah.
We are going to do this.
Yeah.
Accountability.
It's no longer mine. It's ours. So your language needs to change.
Absolutely. I think that, there's a beautiful demonstration that we do when we do our seminars. We take a blender and we bring a few fruits in the blender. We usually take a banana and an apple, and we say, this is me, this is the wife, this is the husband, and we put them in the blender.
Yeah.
And this is the becoming one. The two shall become one. And we say becoming doesn't just happen. It is a process. But unless your mind is ready to become, you will not become. So we put the fruits in the blender and we switch on the blender.
And
And
there's
it
noise
starts,
that goes with
there's
Cutting.
noise
Cutting
and it
together.
starts cutting.
There's cutting. Yeah.
When the blender is cutting you, that is dying.
Yeah. And it's painful.
It's painful. It is
Yeah.
you dying to self for the betterment of the unit, the marriage unit.
Yeah.
And we show it. We demonstrate how it's going, and it's cutting, and it's cutting,
Yeah.
and it looks messy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then later on, we add on the milk. So we're making a smoothie,
Yeah.
and we add on the milk, and we say, "This is God." God comes into your marriage. So it's
Yes.
you, your wife, and God.
Yeah.
And when God comes in and the blending continues to
Yeah.
go, at the end of the day, you have a smooth drink.
Smoothie. Yeah.
A smooth drink. People see the finished product and admire the finished product, but have no idea what they went through to become that smooth. And unless your mindset is ready for that, people jump out of the blender.
Yeah.
We've seen people who jump out of it. As
Yes.
you are cut, you cut a little bit.
say,
You're like, I cannot do
this
this
is not
anymore.
for me.
And they jump out and say, it's not for
Yeah.
me. Marriage is bad. Guys,
Yeah.
don't believe what they say. Marriage is bad. That is your mind. So
Yeah.
mental preparation is very important to prepare yourself for what you're about to get into.
Yeah. Yeah.
We talk about
Financially as well.
preparation, physical
The
preparation.
most unromantic subject,
Yeah.
especially just before marriage.
But very
But
critical.
it's the number one
But
cause of divorce.
very critical.
Very critical.
Yes.
You need to have that conversation.
But do you realize how we don't talk about that?
No.
We said once in our seminars that why don't you ask your husband or wife how the credit record is, the credit profile? They're like, but that's personal. I'm like, no.
It's not.
No.
It's not personal.
Nothing is ever personal. I mean, it's personal now that you're marrying this
Yeah.
person. How did you guys prepare financially? I love the financial preparation because I think a lot of people miss that. Especially when you're getting, sometimes people miss it because they think, oh, but he's got money. What are we
he's
preparing
supposed
for?
to have money.
You know,
Or he's supposed to
He's
have money.
supposed to have money to take care of me.
Yes. So how does one prepare financially besides planning for the wedding, which obviously is a one-day event?
Yes.
But in your state of preparation, talk to us through financial preparation.
We didn't get married until I got a job.
That's good.
Oh, you guys were at university. Yes.
A stable job.
Yes.
Not a
Yes.
Mickey Mouse job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A stable job. Not millions, but
Yeah, yeah.
enough
To
for
sustain
us to
this.
sustain this.
Start off.
To start
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
So I got a job and she got a job. She
Yes.
also had,
Yes.
she had not a great job because I'm straight out of varsity,
Yeah.
but my salary was enough to sustain us,
To start a life.
to start a life,
Okay.
a comfortable life.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is for men out there. God does not bring Eve until the garden is created
ready.
and the garden is green.
Yeah.
He puts Adam there. Adam is working and makes sure the garden is green, and then Eve rocks up.
Yeah.
So now, you don't have a garden.
Yeah.
Because,
You don't have a garden.
Yeah.
But you want to bring someone.
Yeah.
You want to take care of someone. No.
yeah.
So interesting.
someone's
You don't
is
have
that?
a vision,
Yeah.
and you want God to
Yeah.
bring you. The helper comes to help with something that is already there.
Emotion. Yeah.
Yes.
Emotion.
But guys, I
Yes.
love God. Please forgive me.
Okay.
Why would they forgive you?
Okay.
We forgive you.
No. In this subject, I love the fact that even though Eve was there from the beginning,
Yeah.
but God did not have Eve out before
Exactly.
everything
Things
was
were in
prepared.
place.
And I'm thinking now, how clever is that? Because honestly, how do you bring a wife when the garden is not
When
ready?
there's nothing.
I mean, even God did that back then, and people are still missing it to
Yeah.
say, if the garden is not ready, it's not cultivated, I'm not gonna bring Eve in the picture.
Yes.
This is really amazing stuff.
It's
And
amazing.
I
So,
think,
babe, let me just finish my thought.
Yeah.
So we didn't get married until I got a job.
yeah.
When I got the job, we sat down. She knew how much I was earning and whatever. There are couples who hide each other's salaries and whatever. For what?
Yeah.
You need to know. The reason we know is if I trust her, then why should I hide my salary from her?
Sure.
And you know that God can send you someone knowing very well that you might not be so good of a manager,
The steward.
a steward.
Yes,
And
yeah.
he sends you a woman who knows accounting like, you know. She says, baby, no, we're not going to do that. You know how many times my wife has told me we're not buying a car? And I'm like, the money's there. The money, I tell her, the money is there. We can buy the car. She said, no, we're not buying the car. And she said, we're going to talk about it. And she explains to me, and she makes me understand.
Yeah.
And my heart hurts because I want that car. She's like, not yet. This is what the help is.
Yeah.
A helper is not, for, as some believed, and some still believe, a helper is in the kitchen, help with the kitchen and the kids. No.
No.
A helper is someone who can help you even become
Even
a better person,
financially, That's yeah.
mentally, financially. When you marry the right person, even finances begin to look good.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
When you marry the right person, life, I tell you, there are certain doors that open in our marriage when I got married.
Because you
Yeah.
had a favor factor with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, God could trust you now with that because
Yeah.
sometimes God can give you that money, you'll kill yourself if you're
Yeah.
single.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you are more responsible when you have a wife. You know you'll spend that money better.
Absolutely.
And just to add on to that, I think also financially it's important to play open cards.
Yeah.
So we need to know exactly where we are without hiding like my husband. So
Yes.
transparency is key.
Very important.
In terms of finances, because what it does as well is eliminates or get rid of unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
Because the problem also comes when there was no transparency, and here comes this wife who is
Wanting
thinking he's
all
balling.
these
Hey.
things.
He is bold. In that account, there's money. So I'm expecting spas every day.
Yeah.
I'm expecting Louis Vuitton bags.
Breakfast
I'm
in Cape Town,
expecting
lunch in
we can
Durban.
just
My
fly to Cape
goodness.
Town and
Yeah.
have breakfast and come back.
All you could have is just breakfast around the corner.
I mean, even
You
at
know?
home.
Yeah.
But when we're not transparent financially, then we give room for that unrealistic
Yes,
expectations.
yes.
And that's when people get disappointed because their needs are not met.
Yeah.
So you get in and you're like, but this is not
I
the life
thought-
that
This is
I
what I
signed up for.
Yep.
I thought you were this guy who was making money, but now you're going to tell me that we're not going out because our budget is tight? But if that is the information that is revealed before, then you will know what you're getting yourself into. And you will not put unnecessary pressure on this poor man.
And you are partners in this,
You are
in a
partners.
marriage, by the way.
So you will understand when he says, no, not this month, babe.
Yeah.
You will get that weave next month.
Next month,
Let's
yeah.
first do the important things. Then you will understand because you know that it was revealed. It was never hidden. We were on the same page from the word go.
That is
Oh!
that is so important.
No, guys. I feel like we're robbing.
Yeah.
I
no,
feel like we're robbing.
Thank you so
we
much.
may need to do a part 2,
Yeah.
on this because preparation is such an important
is. It
is big.
aspect
It
of
is.
this.
It is
because,
big.
But
Yeah.
I'm looking at the time and there's somebody who's gonna kill me. For the
And that's not me.
I wonder who that is.
Whoever you are.
It's someone wearing a green cap.
But I really think that we do need to revisit this subject on a second part, because that mental preparedness,
Yeah.
the financial preparedness, just on those two.
Yeah.
You
And yeah, you mentioned physical.
You mentioned physical,
Yeah.
and we didn't delve into it too
Yeah.
much. But the issue
Yeah.
is, there is so much that we need to do before we get married, so that you don't have to write a book by some other people called Stuff I Wish I Knew.
Yeah.
Before I said I do.
Yeah.
But for you to engage on these things, I guess one of the biggest messages that is coming out of this week's episode is that, you are not wasting time by preparing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are not
Yeah.
wasting time by preparing and being deliberate about it.
Yes.
Being intentional
Intentional
about
about
it,
it.
and
Yeah.
say, if it's money, we're going to talk about money, we're going to engage on money. If there's credit bureaus and whatever, or we need to know
first.
those things now.
Yeah,
So
status.
that we are both on the same
If there's
page.
a sickness,
If there's a
Don't hide.
sickness,
No.
tell him and tell her. So that they make an intentional decision and say, I know about your physical condition,
Yeah.
but I decide to be with you still.
my
Anyway.
God.
It mustn't come out in marriage, which some people it has.
Yeah.
In marriage, like, you never told me your condition.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think you can actually save your marriage in a sense that instead of spending 7 years in your marriage trying to clean your credit record, you could have
do it
spent that 7 years in preparation
Yeah.
whilst you're cleaning your credit record before you get into marriage.
Before you get into
Exactly.
Because now you get into marriage and then you spend 7 years of not being able to buy a car,
car,
not
a
being able to
house.
buy a
Now it
house,
slows you
and
down.
you're frustrated.
Then you frustrate one another.
and
Guys,
you're
we
thinking
gotta
marriage is actually a scam.
Part two.
We
part
gotta
two,
go for part two,
But,
definitely.
guys, thank you so much. I know Mo has already said goodbye and then we came back.
go. You know,
how
I think it's
that
Pastor
happened.
P.
I don't know how that happened, but for real now we're going. Thank you so much for
Bye-bye.
watching.
Lady Anna, thank you
And
so much.
Thank you so much for subscribing.
Yeah.
Love you guys so much. And thank you to our guests.
Thank
for
you so
you.
much for having us.
We'll see you
Awesome.
again
See
next
you
week.
next
Thank you
time.
so much.